I have immense respect for the healing capabilities of the female body, both men and women, but especially a woman's body. And so everything that I teach, everything that I see is always like, why is the body doing that? Because nothing that the body does does it by mistake. It is always healing itself if you learn to read the clues. I'm safe, but I'm not okay. Any woman here that feels like you've hit your wall and you are not okay, I want you to put it in the comments. So what is it that we're not giving women permission to say, I'm not okay?
Dr. Mindy Pelz, I am so excited to be with you today.
Thank you. It feels really fun to be on the receiving end because I think I've had you 2-3 times on my podcast.
Yes.
You're one of my favorite guests. So this is really fun to be on
gosh.
the other end.
We met over Zoom during the pandemic.
Yes.
And we became fast friends.
Yes.
And hiking buddies.
Yes.
And occasionally drinking buddies. Although we'll have to explain that.
Yes, we will.
And I want to just begin with a couple of things. I want to say first that you are a YouTube sensation with more than 90 million views. Like, it's incredible what you've done with your podcast and what you've done. You know, I think of YouTube as mostly a bro space. There's a way that men especially succeed and find other men on YouTube. And so I love how you're cutting through the noise.
Thank you.
You are also known for your incredible work with fasting. So Fast Like a Girl is approaching 1 million copies sold. Congratulations. That is so huge.
Thank you.
And you were originally trained as a chiropractor who focused especially on lifestyle medicine.
Yeah.
And I feel like in some ways our credentials really don't matter.
Yeah.
When we get together and we start riffing on what women are up against, what the men are up against who love women. And so I want to go to so many different places today. I want to start first with, for someone who's tuning in for the first time, what can they expect could be different in their life as a result of listening to you?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I thought you were going to say, what can they expect from you? And I was like, well, a lot of noise and laughter. How about that?
And good jewelry?
Yeah, again, some good jewelry, which I did take out of my burning, my burning neighborhood. I took my jewelry. I just want to say that. I have immense respect for the healing capabilities of the female body, both men and women, but especially a woman's body. And so everything that I teach, everything that I see is always like, why is the body doing that? Because nothing that the body does does it by mistake. It is always healing itself if you learn to read the clues. So I have become obsessed with trying to understand what the body is teaching us and how it's reacting to the modern world, and what is it doing when hormones go away, and what is it doing when you're overloaded with toxins. Like, just understanding the language of the body has become my passion.
That's so profound, because I feel like I was brought up in a medical system that was totally patriarchal. And I was taught to be the powerful person in the room who made a diagnosis and then told people what to do.
Yeah.
And that never sat right with me. What you're talking about is a different model, which is much more, in my mind, feminine. It's much more about, let's decode the messages. Let's see what spirit is bringing to us to work with, how that's showing up as physical symptoms or maybe mental symptoms or emotional symptoms. How do we work with the innate intelligence of the body, which completely changes the equation, right? It's not this top-down, you must do this, start taking a GLP-1.
Yes.
Instead, it's, well, of course, you're 40. Your body is starting to change. You're hitting perimenopause. You're noticing this redistribution of your body composition. You're becoming more insulin resistant. Your cells are numb to insulin. Estrogen has left the building.
Yes.
Right? So I really appreciate the way that you frame that.
Thank you.
So we were just talking, Mindy, before we hit the record button about a 35-year-old that you were hanging out with recently.
Yeah.
And she was telling you about some of her symptoms. And I wanted to start with that because I feel like it's something that so many people can relate to.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know if you've ever done this because we interact with so many people, especially in the wellness space. And then if you're doing patient work. And all of a sudden I realized that in like the last 6 months, I've been really interacting a lot with very successful 30 and 40-year-olds. And I realized, I'm 55, all of a sudden I realized like, oh, shoot, maybe I'm the wise elder right now. Like, I'm looking for the 60 and 70-year-old wise elder.
I don't think you're quite old enough yet.
Okay, well, what am I? Because all of these 30 and 40-year-old women who have just nailed it with their career. And they're starting to get that little nudge of, is this it? And do I give my health up for this? And where do I get a break? And where does me fit in here? And these are the questions that I'm hearing over and over and over again from 30 and 40-year-old successful women. And you and I were talking about this, like, I had those nudges, but I didn't listen to them.
So tell me about the nudges. And you even did, for those who are listening to the audio and not watching us on YouTube, you did a little tap, a gentle tap on the shoulder.
Yeah.
So what were those nudges for you that you ignored?
Oh, what about the nudge that at the end of a very long day in practice where my brain was like, I can't do this anymore. And I would literally sit in my lobby. And my clinic was functional medicine before functional medicine was a thing, like, because we were doing so much nutrition and detox. And we just had so many people pouring in and out of it. And I would sit at the end of the day and I would just think, I can't do this. This is exhausting me. And
because you were over functioning, because you were seeing so many people and the need was so immense.
Yeah, I mean, so when we figured out how to detox, one of the things that I did is I had a team of people that would set up detox protocols. And then I would literally give classes in my practice on like, here are the toxins in your beauty products, and here are the toxins in your food, and here's what happens to your brain and your thyroid and your hormones when you have toxins in flux. And then I took them to I talk about over functioning. I took them to the grocery store. And I was like, here are the aisles you want to stay away from. And then, anytime there was a new like toxin that we discovered, I would like gather everybody. I'd be like, this is how we're going to avoid it. Like I was like trying to take care of hundreds of people and help them stop the chronic disease that was forming inside of them. They didn't even know. But I was really killing myself in that.
Yeah, it's that's such a moving and plaintive. And, I always have this experience with you, Mindy, where you'll describe something like that end of the day, feeling that emotion of, I can't do this anymore. And it just takes me back to being in my 30s when I was saying that to myself as well.
Yeah. I think, and so here's something, I think we talked about this last week, but in light of the fires that happened and me evacuating, it was like the final stressor of my 30s and 40s that finally broke me. And I was giving a webinar to 100,000 people, teaching them how to fast. Oh, yeah. And all I thought was I need to help these people fast. I never thought about myself. And on the last day of the webinar, I was so exhausted. I was so fried. I couldn't even think straight. And I finally made a statement that freed me. And I said to everybody on the webinar, so I'm just going to let you know, I appreciate everybody's kind comments about my evacuation. And I want you to know I'm not okay. I'm safe.
I'm not okay.
I'm safe, but I'm not okay. Then I said in the notes or in the chat, I was like, any woman here that feels like you've hit your wall and you are not okay, I want you to put it in the comments. The chat just went.
It blew up.
It just blew up.
Yeah.
So what is it that we're not giving women permission to say, I'm not okay? Because in my 30s and 40s, at the end of a long day, I didn't go home and put my feet up in a massage chair.
No, you had kids.
Yes.
You had a husband.
Yes.
You went home and probably cooked dinner.
Read stories, bath time, bed. I did all of that. And then I get up and do it again every day, except Saturday and Sunday. And then once they got into sports, now you're off going everywhere for sports. Like you literally, like I can go back and I can say there was probably about 10 to 20 years where Mindy woke up every day and never thought about herself. She only thought about what does everybody else need? What does the practice need? What does the family need? Of course, I did my health habits, but I never thought, what do I want? What kind of life do I want to live?
So this accumulation of wisdom over the decades came to a head for you.
Yeah.
You were in Malibu. You were evacuating your home. You didn't feel well. It was a state of alarm externally and also inside your body. And you were honest about it. You didn't just like put one foot in front of the other and, like chin up, buttercup, which is what we're taught to do.
Yeah.
So you admitted this vulnerability.
Yeah.
It gave voice to so many other people
Yeah.
who were not admitting their vulnerability.
That's right. Yeah. And you know what I did I hope it gives voice, and I hope a conversation like this gives voice. But I could feel the minute in my body I said, I'm not okay. Like every piece of anxiety in me just dropped. And every part of my brain that's like, where am I going to live? What should I do? Like it just went away. And it was like, okay, at least people know I'm not okay. And then the answers started coming. And then I actually went even further. I went to my parents. I went to my sister. I went to my husband. I went to one of my children. I haven't got the other one is not, is away, lives in another state. And I was like, I just need you all to know I'm not okay. And of course, people get a little challenged by that statement. But I said, I'm going to find my way back, but I can't put on this facade. I can't take care of you. I can't pretend that I've got my shit together because right now it's all fallen apart. And there was so much freedom in that. It felt so good to say that. And everybody's been incredibly understanding and nurturing and accepting. And that felt incredible to finally admit it.
I'm so glad you had this moment. I mean, it feels like such a profound epiphany. And, I know you personally, so I know that this was really at a crux. You were at a fork in the road.
Yeah.
And you chose to be 100% honest, which is a very brave and courageous act.
Thank you.
And I want to unpack, maybe deconstruct a little bit. Why is it that it took until the emergency with the fire and the evacuation to be able to give voice to that vulnerability? Like, what is it? I mean, I imagine some of it is sex differences. Like women get the short end of the stick in terms of, there's biological differences, sex differences, and then there's gender differences that are socially constructed. There are ways that women, we go through things that men don't go through, like pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause.
We've got things.
A lot of things. I mean, that's pretty much your 30s and 40s, depending on what you choose.
Just a couple little things.
Just a few small things. And then there's these socially constructed things, like I was taught to be a good girl. I was taught to suck it up.
Me too.
I was taught to keep a smile on my face. What I got taught at Harvard Medical School was you show up for work no matter what.
Yeah.
Unless you're in the ICU and you are hooked up to so many wires and you've got a tube down your throat, you show up for work.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're not feeling okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we architect? First, let's understand how we got to this place of not being able to say, dude, I'm not okay.
Right.
Because I actually hear my daughters say that.
I hear a lot of people say it.
I hear younger people saying it. I feel like there's a sea change in terms of women speaking their truth.
Yeah.
Especially millennials and the generations afterwards.
Yeah.
But what do you notice in your own system that kept you from admitting that vulnerability, which then was this conduit, this path, this portal to so much freedom?
Yeah. Yep. Well, again, it's such a good question. For starters, I had a dad who called me lazy a lot. And anytime I was sitting on the couch, he would tell me that I was lazy. Or that I would, if I did my homework first and then sat on the couch, that, I would probably enjoy sitting on the couch more. And so he was always, he rode me really hard. And I was a competitive tennis player, and then I had coaches in college. I played on a tennis scholarship. I had coaches that rode me hard. So there was never anybody who modeled rest for me. And my mom she never sleeps. Even to this day at 85, she's like buzzing around and busy. So I didn't see what healthy rest looked like. And I had an internal message that I'm a bad person if I rest. Mm. So mine came from an early parental and then through athletics.
And what's the earliest you remember that message?
Well, okay, if we're going to be really transparent, my sister, 2 years older than me, total brainiac, like photographic memory, Princeton, Yale, like teaches Spanish, PhD at Boston and University. And my parents were so like into her skill that
her achievement. They were invested in her achievement.
So I was just sort of an afterthought. Now, my parents, hopefully they won't listen to this podcast. but they're lovely people. We could talk about it. But I got a message early on that I wasn't worthy of anything. And then I sucked my thumb. And I sucked my thumb for a really long time.
Oh, my love.
And I think it's how I soothed myself.
Sure it is. You had an oral way of soothing yourself, which makes so much sense.
Yeah. And it drove my dad crazy. He yelled at me even more. He ridiculed me. I had to do it in privacy in my room. And the more he yelled at me, the more I sucked my thumb because it was the only soothing mechanism that I knew how to do.
You were trying to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
I was a thumb sucker too.
Really?
You just reminded me of this. Yes.
Wow.
They used to put that horrible tasting stuff on my thumb.
Oh.
Some toxic thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Right. Something toxic. I was bribed to stop sucking my thumb. They even today in the last like 10 years, every once in a while at a family gathering, he'll talk about, when Mindy used to suck her thumb. And I've now stopped him and said, I was self-soothing, and I would like you to stop talking about that story.
Good. Stick up for yourself.
Yeah. But, there was abandonment in the house. There was chaos because my sister took up all the oxygen, and they were focused on that. And then when I wanted to regulate myself in a way I wanted to regulate myself, I was told that wasn't right.
You were shamed.
Yeah, I was shamed. So I didn't have any model of anybody resting. So of course I would end up being, a workaholic.
Yes. And I want to highlight this because for our listeners, I want to ask you a direct question. Did you have anyone who modeled rest and recovery? Did you have a mother who modeled that for you, who showed you self-care? Because my experience is all the women around me growing up were just like whirling dervishes. They were just always cleaning and getting the house ready and, so focused on so many things and never self-care. Self-care came last.
Yep.
Like that's what I got imprinted with. And it sounds like you did too.
Absolutely. I'm thinking because my mom had a really strong group of female friends, but they all were whirling dervishes is a beautiful way to say that. My grandma would sit and we'd watch like the Lawrence Welk show together and The Price is Right, and maybe play solitaire. So maybe my grandma showed me, she might have been the only, but in my head, she was old. The younger women didn't do that. And you and I have talked about this. My big concern as I try to unwind that is I look at my daughter and I see a mini me and what I taught her to do. And it's really hard. It's really hard. But you're right. We don't have any models for that.
We have to break that cycle. That's our job.
I agree.
And you broke the cycle that moment when you were doing the webinar.
Yep.
And you said, I'm safe. I'm not okay.
Yeah. You know what was really interesting? So many people texted me that week, so many beautiful humans. But what the message that I got coming through all my texts is, are you okay? I just saw, aren't you in the Palisades? Or some people would be, tell me you're okay. This is how I got to it, because I had literally hundreds of messages. Are you okay? Tell me you're okay. And I hit a wall where I'm like, enough. How could I be okay? I just evacuated 3 times and I don't know if my house is standing. That's a stupid question to ask somebody. And I will never ask anybody in a crisis that again. But no. So I finally just hit a wall where I'm like, no, I'm not okay. And then once I said it, I was like, actually, I haven't been okay for a long time.
How long, Mindy? How long has it been?
Can we talk about that?
Yes, we can.
So it just opened the floodgates. Yeah. So, but I agree. I think as women, we need to be willing to say to at least each other, we're not okay. What I did follow that up with was like, I don't want pity. I'm not even sure I want anybody's help. I had a bunch of people offering me homes in Australia and places like that I could go to. And I was like, no, because what I knew is that it was time to heal myself. And this has been a really interesting one because I've had several of my wise elders that are 5-10 years older than me that have been talking about their menopausal journeys. And in this moment of I'm not okay, I went to many of these beautiful women and I was like, what do I do? I feel horrible. I can't think straight. My life feels like it's falling apart. All this grief I haven't processed is coming in. And you know what they said that has just been such a gem? I hated it in the moment, but I really love it now. And 2 of my closest friends said to me, Mindy, this is your initiation. We can't tell you what to do. This is your initiation. We'll love you through this. We'll lift you up when you need to be lifted, but we can't tell you the steps to walk. And you when we met in Mill Valley that night, that's a little bit of what you said.
For sure.
But I think that was really freeing because I sat with that a couple of days later and I thought, well, isn't that interesting? I always teach people that the body heals themselves and that we're always healing ourselves. And now it's time to heal myself. So my new version of what I'm saying is I'm not okay and I'm healing me. And so because everybody wants to help you, maybe people want to put pity on you. But I think that's probably the most powerful place we can sit is when we can acknowledge we're not okay. We can know who to ask help from, but it's nobody's job to heal us but us. And I think once I said it and then I took that ownership back, I'm starting to feel a little bit better and a little bit better every day. Solutions are starting to come in, inspiration's starting to hit me. But it took those 2 comments because I think what happens as women is we get to this place where we say, I'm not okay. And then there's a little bit of like, somebody help me.
Right.
But I'm not asking somebody to help me.
This is a really important distinction.
Yep, agreed.
Because I think, going back to that patriarchal model that I learned and you learned, there's a way that our default is to try to fix the problem.
Yep.
Right? And so, women who are going through the biochemical initiation
I love that.
of perimenopause and menopause. Mm-hmm. You think it's hormonal, but it's actually much more than that.
Yep.
Fixing it, like throwing a 0.0375 milligram patch and 100 milligrams of progesterone, like that doesn't fix it. Yeah, it can help you with your mood. It can help you maybe with hot flashes and night sweats and some of the other symptoms, 100 plus symptoms of perimenopause.
Yeah.
But we have to go beyond that.
Yeah.
We have to really consider, what is the innate healing of my body trying to teach me right now?
Yeah.
Which is very different.
Yeah.
It's not a fix it and move on.
Well, so this is a really interesting conversation to have with you because the way I see the menopause conversation, we've gone from not talking about it, being shamed to talk about it, to, hey, guess what? All your problems are because your hormones are going down. So let's just bitch about it and let's all talk about it. And from that place, oh, wait, the research is showing you should probably be patching it up. We had it wrong. Let's put a patch on. Let's put some creams on. So you're suffering because you don't have enough hormones. And my brain is like, but you're aging. You're supposed to not have as many hormones. And if you keep patching it up and creaming it up and antidepressing it up, where do you learn to find yourself?
That's right. You're masking the symptoms.
Yeah.
And that dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
You're not going through the process.
That's
you
right.
need to go through the journey.
Thank you. So that's exactly where I am. I'm right smack in the middle of the journey. It's been 3 years since my last period.
Okay, I was raised Catholic, and it sounded a little bit like it's been 3 years since my last confession.
It came out that way when I said that. I was like, this sounds like Catholic Church. So Sarah, please forgive me. It's been 3 years since my last period. I can't be held accountable for what I'm going to say.
Please absolve my sins.
Oh my God, I feel like we should have every year we should gather women together and be like, it's 10 years.
Yes.
I'm 12 years without a period.
Yes.
And we can celebrate it. I'm in the thick of it. I'm in the liminal space.
Yes.
I'm straddling the place of who I was and who I'm becoming. And what happened this year and with the fires, and I lost a very dear friend in October who meant the world to me. I hit a dark night of the soul, and it's painful.
Yeah.
And I don't really like being there. But I know I'm going to find something there. And I know it's necessary for that next spot. And all my wise friends who are postmenopausal have said to me, keep focusing on who you want to become. Keep focusing on her. You're fighting for her right now. And when you actually break down the hormonal shift of menopause, it's fascinating to think how anybody could stay the same.
True. Your identity completely shifts.
Completely shifts. I mean, even down to the fact, I have no way to prove this. You're another great person to bounce this off of. I was talking to Rebecca Campbell, who is a spiritual writer at Hay House. And we were talking about how the eggs are in, your eggs are developed in your mother's womb, and then your mother's eggs are developed in your grandmother's womb. And so I started thinking about that, and I was like, wait a second. So our eggs are a connection to the maternal line all the way down.
And the mitochondria.
Ooh, in the eggs or just in our whole body?
Well, the eggs have the highest concentration of mitochondria in the body.
Right. So that's mother's energy. That's grandmother's energy. That's great-grandmother's energy inside of you. So what happens when those eggs stop doing their thing? And I have a theory that we move from a culture, a mother, a system mothering us, and now we have an opportunity to mother ourselves.
Yes. Oh, that's good.
Right?
I really like this.
I thought, yeah, because energetically, the frequency, the ancestral information that connected us to all women has ended.
Yes.
I have no way to prove this, but it feels like that to me, that there is a remothering of myself.
This is like a female Star Wars, where basically we're like, my love, now that you're 50, or now that you're 45, now that you're 55, our work is done.
Yes.
It's time for you to step into your identity.
Yep.
Step into it in a big way.
Yep.
Take utter ownership.
Yep.
Yes, you had all these experiences. You have been carrying the matrilineal line for generations.
Yep.
Yes, you had that trauma that you experienced as a kid.
Yep.
Now it's your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no time to waste.
No.
Second half of life.
Right.
Let's get going.
Let's go, because you're in your third act, as Jane Fonda called it. I think that is a real, when I start to think deeply about what physiologically is happening to me, I just realized the right dose of estradiol and progesterone are not going to like solve anything at this moment.
It's not that simple.
It's not that simple. And I had a friend, and you'll love this story too. I had a group of friends that we did a psilocybin journey together, and we're setting intentions beforehand. And one of my friends said to me, I want to get off my antidepressants because I don't have tears anymore. I'm like, you don't cry? And she said, no, on my antidepressants, I don't cry anymore. And I said, well, when did you go on your antidepressants? And she said, when I went through menopause. And I thought, well, isn't that convenient? If you can keep us calm and you can make sure we don't get too emotional through this experience, then there is a level of control. And this is not like her doctor was like maliciously like, I'm going to control you. But that's the subtle undercurrent that I think is happening in this amazing transitional time. And we're losing it. We're missing it. We're missing the opportunity because our symptoms are overwhelming. So we make me stop being depressed. Well, maybe you're depressed because you're living a life you're not congruent with.
That's right.
Maybe you're not sleeping because your nervous system is totally maxed out. That was me.
You're dysregulated.
You're so dysregulated.
You're not speaking your truth.
That's right.
I'm with you. I see this. Yeah. And I would say another iteration, in addition to the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors or the latest antidepressant, is GLP-1s.
Yes.
Let's make you smaller. Let's let you take up less space.
Yeah. Ooh. So years ago, I went to the Olympic Museum in Lake Geneva. I'm a huge Olympic fan. And there was this beautiful picture of all these different gold medal female athletes. And the picture was really, really long. And each woman was in a black jog bra and some version of a black pant or short. And it said their sport and what they, and the year they won. I took a picture of it. There must have been, 50 different women, gold medalists. They were all very different sizes.
Yes.
There was not one woman. These are women at the top athletes, at the top of their game, that they won a gold medal in the Olympics. They are the size difference from the marathon runner to the shot putter is like it was to the basketball player. It was all different. And I sat there and looked at it and I thought, why are we all trying to be a size 2? What's the freaking A is BMI? Like, why do I have to have told that for my age and my height, I need to be a certain weight? Like, we have to blow that apart because as women, our body, we're all built differently. And
right.
I think the goal should be, do you love living in your body? If you do, then throw the scale away. If you love living in your body, then throw the scale away. And when Ozempic first came out, the GLP-1 drugs, my thought was, hey, weight doesn't matter. Do your blood work. See what your blood work shows. And then ask yourself, do you love your body? And if those two things look good, then why do we care if you're a perfect size 2? So I agree on that. And then, the other thing about GLP-1 is like, really? We've gotten so off course with our food and our stress and our lack of movement that now here's a shot you can take that is going to just make all your problems go away. Where is the emotional depth? Where is the learning in that? Where is the empowerment? Like women who fast and lose 60 pounds, they're like, I'm a badass. And they swag me. They find me publicly and they come up and they thank me. People who go on Ozempic don't have that same empowerment.
They're disempowered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you completely lost the empowerment moment as well.
And I want to acknowledge that there are some people who really benefit from GLP-1s.
Yeah.
That they have tried everything, including fasting, and they are not seeing the benefit that they are hoping to see. So there's a time and a place for them.
Yeah.
But what I see is that there are so many people using GLP-1s. I see a lot of people who are using them because they want to lose 5 or 10 pounds.
Right.
And I feel like we're in the hype stage of hearing about all the benefits and how here's the magic, weight loss injection that just bypasses all the work.
Yeah.
And people do that without paying attention to muscle mass as they get older.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're going to see this sort of post-GLP-1 situation where we see more side effects and we see more problems.
Yep.
Who knows? I mean, we're in the middle of a vast, uncontrolled medical experiment right now.
Well said.
We're right in the middle of it.
And why, and then you can break down a lot of different parts of it, but the expense of it. So we're now back in this thing that you have to be wealthy to be healthy. I think that's horrible. So you have that. I also, when I've dove into looking at GLP-1 hormone, actually just had Ben Bickman on my podcast. Beautiful man. You should interview him. And we were talking about the research showing that bad fats, harmful fats, actually destroy the microbes that actually help the L cells on the inner lining of the gut that make GLP-1. These microbes take those L cells that are making GLP-1 and they 10 times the GLP-1 load that goes into the gut and then up into the brain to kill hunger. And the thing that kills these microbes are bad fats.
Interesting. And what do you mean by bad fats?
Canola oil, cottonseed oil.
The seed oils.
Yeah, the seed oils. Corn oil, safflower, sunflower, vegetable, partially hydrogenated, soybean.
Are all the seed oils bad?
No. I think, two things. I know seed oils are so controversial. Can we just talk about that?
Yes. What the actual fuck?
I'm like, there's so many things to talk about with you, Sarah. Do you really want to go down seed oils?
Yes, well, briefly.
Yeah, but people are...
Then we'll get back to the important stuff.
Yeah, people, I mean, what is... Like, come on, people. Let's just, how about we go after NutraSweet or like something else they're putting in your food, for God's sake. Glyphosate. Like, there's so pesticides. There's so many other things. But, with seed oils, we're back at anything that's ultra processed is a problem. So certain seed oils, like we can even, go into sesame seed oil can be a healthy oil. Some sunflower seed oils can be healthy oils if they're not ultra refined.
Yes.
The problem is once we ultra refine them, we mess them up. So I think that, to me, ends the seed oil discussion, because it's like, just you want to buy the higher quality one. I'll give you an example. I buy olive oil that is like $30 a jar.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I go through about a liter a week.
Thank you. And when I take a scoop of it, it's like a supplement. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at it.
Oh, totally. All those polyphenols.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's probably making my L cells happy.
Exactly. But most people would be like, you do what? $30? I mean, I think the most expensive one I ever bought was $44 because I was like, well, this better be really good. But I think that's the problem, is the cheap, highly processed foods is where we start to see everything break down in the human body. So there's my seed oil.
That's good. That's very good.
My seed oil opinion. So, and I do think, gosh, social media has done some incredible things for people getting knowledge, and it's done some horrible things. And what I see in the health space is we're looking for absolutes. So fasting's good, fasting's bad. Women shouldn't fast, women should fast. Keto's great, keto's horrible. You should have 30 grams of protein. Too much protein is going to make you overweight. And so everybody's looking for absolutes, but the body doesn't work like that.
It's true.
This is why I go back to the body is perfect. It's always doing the right thing at the right time. It's always working towards healing. It's just the physical, emotional, and chemical stressors that come in and take it off course. So we have to start with that premise. And if we don't have that premise, then you're going to drive yourself crazy. One day you're going to be following one person who says, do it this way. And the next day that somebody says it completely the opposite. That's got to talk about dysregulating. That's really dysregulating what's happening to people trying to, no pun intended, digest our information.
It's true. It's really true. And I like that. I practice precision medicine. I'm the director of precision medicine at the Marcus Institute of Integrative Health. And what you just described is precision medicine. Precision medicine is where you do N of 1 experiments to see what is true for you. Yeah. And I feel like, what I was taught in my medical training is that there's a hierarchy of scientific evidence. At the very bottom is expert opinion. And then case studies, observational studies, prospective studies, randomized trials. But above all of those is the N of 1 trial.
You were taught that?
I was taught that.
I don't hear very many medical doctors talk that way.
Well, it shaped my entire medical practice.
As it should.
Because people do experiments all the time.
Yep.
My heart rate variability is low. So let me try giving up alcohol. Let me try standing in the ocean for 5 minutes a day. Let me do some experiments pre-post and see what happens.
Yep.
So people do them all the time. They don't call them N-of-1 experiments.
Yeah.
But I think it's a way to get to the point that you're making, which is the body is so intelligent.
So intelligent.
And mostly we just have to work to remove the obstacles that are connecting you to your own body's intelligence.
Right. Yeah. And have respect for it. If you even think about how a baby is growing inside a woman's womb, she doesn't have to stop in the middle of the day and be like, okay, wait, hold on, everybody. I gotta grow a finger. Hold on. Okay. Got the left pinky in place. Right? She doesn't have to do that. There's an intelligence that's growing a goddamn baby inside another human. That is miraculous. And I just always like to point out that the egg actually chose the sperm too. I just want to make sure if you ever doubt how powerful you are as a woman, your egg chose the right sperm to come in, and then the cells started dividing, and then all of a sudden this human was formed, and that was innate intelligence. And then when we come out of the womb, all the messaging goes opposite. You're weak. Don't get them near too many people. If you have a cold or a symptom, you need to do something to stop it. It's like the unknowing becomes it just becomes part of your life, and you fall asleep. You don't realize that, oh my gosh, I was made from an incredible intelligence. Let's just start with the egg. And what she was able to do with a bunch of sperm rushing at her, she picked the right one. Wow, that's power.
It is powerful.
And that power didn't go away. It's still here right now in all of us. But we don't talk like that. We talk through symptoms, and we talk through, all the ways our body is not doing what we want it to do. I had a really interesting experience with the anxiety that I've had in my chest since the fires. It was really bad. And I felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest for the last 3 weeks. And so 2 days ago, I started taking your advice of spiritual triage in the morning. And I got up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit in meditation, and I'm going to try to understand what this pain is, because it feels like I can't breathe. And so I started to kind of quiet my mind, and then I asked the pain, what do I need to know? What are you trying to tell me? Why aren't you going away? You've been here for 3 weeks. And the word surrender came to me. You have to stop trying to figure it out. Just surrender and let life carry you at this moment. And the minute I thought that, all the pain went away.
It's like that moment where you said, I'm not okay. Yeah. The relief of it.
The relief.
The truth of it.
Yeah. So I think we create a lot of resistance in the human body when we're trying to manipulate it. This is why I don't know, you and I have never talked about this, but I absolutely hate the term biohacking.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Oh, sister. Yes.
Because you can't hack a woman's body.
No. It sounds so violent.
It's so violent.
I don't want to hack anything in my body.
No. So I think we should call it bioharmonizing. Yeah, you look unsure.
Well, I don't know that we need an alternative to biohacking.
Yeah, good point.
I think it's more about working with the intelligence of the body. So we might have to come up with a new word.
Yeah.
But I like the harmony.
Yeah. But biohacking has been harmful for women because you can't rush anything in the female body. I mean, look at pregnancy. You can't rush that experience. So I'm such a believer that the body is always doing the right thing at the right time. And now what I'm learning is that life might be doing the right thing at the right time always. That's my next lesson to learn.
So surrender to it.
Yeah, I'm learning that.
So, Mindy, I want to talk about so many things, and I feel like this needs to be 2 episodes because we haven't even started talking about psychedelics yet, and that is a huge
Yep.
conversation. As we start to wrap up this first episode, you began by talking about this moment where you acknowledged and you were honest and gave voice to the fact that you were not okay. This was several weeks ago.
Yep.
And you also are an incredibly resourced person
Thank
and you
you.
know your body really well.
Yep.
Can you share some of the things that you've been doing to regulate your system again
Yeah.
and to create that bioharmony in your body again?
Yeah. I mean, the first instinct I had was to get to nature. So the last place after the third evacuation, I was at Lisa Bilyeu's house, Lisa and
Yes.
Tom, beautiful home up here in the Hollywood Hills, but I couldn't be around concrete. I just had to get to nature. So that was the first thing I did is get out of the city, get to nature. Second thing I did is sleep. I'm like, I just got to sleep and really focus on prioritizing sleep. Third thing I did is you weren't allowed to be around me if I didn't feel safe. And I started to notice what environments and what relationships and what conversations made me feel safe. And if I couldn't be in those, then I needed to back away. And some of those were really difficult. So safety became important. And then after those 3 steps, every day I did this thing that I'm really going to keep doing. I have a note section on my phone where I put what makes me feel good. And I started just listing all the things. And every day when something makes me feel good, I just put that down on there. So like body work. I realized if I can get some body work and move the energy out of me, amazing. Deep conversations with safe people and people who've been through this before. It was really helpful to talk to people that either had a trauma and overcame it or went through menopause and, came to a new place. Like that gave me inspiration that something was going to be at the other end of this experience. But it literally became the little things. And it's just a list of a lot of little things and the right environment. I think the environment is important because you can't regulate in a dysregulated environment.
Such a good point. And I love that you were keeping track of these things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
It's almost like a way of working around the negativity bias that so many of us have.
Yeah.
And it allows, you're basically creating a loop of positive neuroplasticity around those things that make you feel good.
Yeah.
Can you give us a few highlights?
Yeah, so mine were body work was number 1. IVs, I went and got an IV drip and I was like, oh, and it was just nourished. It was just vitamins in. I was like, oh, that felt really good.
And we're going to talk about IVs in the next episode.
Yeah. And then conversations with people who had overcome trauma. So, you and I had a beautiful dinner that night. And then I was staying with my best friend and like just hearing their journey, that really made sense to me. Laughter.
Yes.
So like I put on some comedy. My best friend and I laugh all the time. And so even my therapist and I this week just burst out laughing one day. It was like laughter feels like when you have to pee and you finally get to pee. When you're in a state of anxious, like overwhelming trauma, when you can laugh with somebody.
Such a good analogy.
It feels like that. It's like, oh my God, that's okay. And then each laughter moment, my brain was like, you're going to be okay. It's going to work.
It's a safety signal.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, because nobody laughs when they're maybe the Joker. This is really weird.
Right.
But nobody laughs when there's something bad's typically going on. Information. I really chose to make sure I watched things or read books or listened to people who were bringing in positivity. And I think this one's, or at least expanding my thoughts, I think this one's really important because as women, we can bitch together.
Yes.
And I'm still not looking for a bitch fest with anybody. I'm looking for emotional processing that I haven't done for 25 years. And I have a few friends that wanted to bitch with me about menopause or relationships. And so I've avoided those. because I just needed to be around possibility. I had to be around, anything that was going to soften the energy that was in me. The other weird thing that I have had from this last trauma is like my brain doesn't feel completely on track. And my sweet sister, every day we check in with each other. And I said, can you just be the other half of my brain right now until my brain gets well? And so I go through all the different decisions that I'm making in my life right now. I'm like, I think I'm going to do it this way. What do you think? And she's walking that journey with me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's incredible. So
sister medicine.
Yeah, sister medicine. And do you know what came from that? It came from at Christmas. It's my big sister, and my big sister and I haven't always gotten along. And we've had periods we've gotten along fabulously. And she came to me on the 31st, and she said to me, what do I need to do to have a better relationship with you?
That's so potent.
And I said to her, nobody can have a relationship with me right now until I have a relationship with myself. So, and then this was before the fires. I told her what I was going through and the discovery and the menopausal journey. And I said, really, what I need right now is a big sister. And she took the calling every day since then. And then the fires happened, which just put it in a new, but wow. I mean, I hope to be that for somebody someday.
For sure. For sure.
Like literally every day. I'm like, okay, here's what I'm doing. She knew I was flying down to LA yesterday. I haven't been here since the fires.
Yeah, you're returning to the site of
the
crisis, the evacuation.
Yeah. So the minute I landed, there was a message from her.
Oh. Mindy, one last thing. I know I keep saying this. You mentioned that people were texting you when you were evacuating Malibu. Are you okay? Tell me you're okay. There's a way that it's almost like they were taking care of themselves by wanting to hear from you.
Yep.
Can you share with us what would have been healing for you in that moment? Like what would have been a text or an outreach that softened you and helped you with that? You were in a state of utter alarm.
Yep.
What would have helped you?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you one thing before I answer that. The second evacuation, so I went from my house to Santa Monica to a hotel. And then I was watching the news, and 8 hours later, they evacuated the hotel. And it was 8:00 at night. And I was like, where am I going to go? And I had 2 friends who had reached out to me that day that had said, if you need anything, come here. That was helpful. If you need anything, come here.
I'm here for you.
I'm here. Yeah.
I've got a bed for you.
Yep. You don't have to, you can just show up at my doorstep. Like, I'm here. So when I'm evacuating this hotel, I try one was Lisa. And I'm like, okay, because that seemed to the furthest away from the fire. And she didn't pick up the phone. So then I called another woman, and she was like, yeah, come here. She was in Marina Del Rey. So I'm driving to Marina Del Rey, and Lisa calls me and says, I'm here, girl, come here. And I really wanted to go to Lisa's house.
Lisa's house is fun. Right?
Yeah. Lisa, just so we can say, Lisa, like literally, I think it went something like, come here, I have a wing for you.
Yeah.
Which she did.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. So but I didn't want to let my friend down in Marina Del Rey because I knew she wanted to help me. What? What inside of me was thinking about other people?
You're in crisis and you're taking care of others.
So I slept on her couch. I didn't ask if I had a separate room. I slept on her couch where I could have had the wing. I also want to say when I showed up at Lisa's house the next morning, she had all my favorite food stocked in my own refrigerator in her house. So that was a great place to go. So I learned a lot about how I didn't even want to let people down in that kind of crisis. And that's something I'm deeply thinking about. So that's another stepping stone. But I'm here for you. Call me anytime. I'm sitting in the pain with you. I think that might be one of the most interesting things because the pain feels very lonely.
And isolating.
Yeah. So I'm here with you. I'm sitting in the pain with you. If you've been through a trauma, I've been through this before, you'll get through it. I needed to know that I was going to get through it. But yeah, are you okay is not the right thing to say.
This is the end of our first episode together. Thank you so much, Dr. Mindy Pelz.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I love this. Thank you.